let's talk about gender and the law. And in 2019, the Global Gender Report ranked Japan 121 out of 140 states for its record on gender equality. So first of all, from your personal and professional experience as a professional in the law, in legal academia, how have you experienced gender equality norms or gender inequality in your case? And why have you, or what ideas or themes have you picked up in your research on gender and the law based on that experience?
Okay, to be honest, as a kind of professional capacity, I've never felt like I'm discriminated, and I didn't feel like women is discriminated in Japan for a long time. But when I started to research on lawyers, bengoshi in Japan, and I happened to have a research project on comparison of female lawyers and male lawyers. And I didn't expect that there is so huge difference between them because they are bengoshi who passed the same bar exam.
Mm-hmm.
And still, I noticed that there is huge gap between female lawyers and male lawyers. That even now, I didn't feel like I'm discriminated at Waseda legal community. But to be honest, there are only 2 tenured law professors at Waseda Law School out of 50 law professors. So that's truth. I mean, once you enter, there is no such kind of obvious discrimination, but I have to say that it's really difficult for female researchers to get a tenured position in law even today.
Okay, well, let's pick up on that point because your research interest is, or one of your research interests is women in the legal profession. And some of the statistics show that with the advent of the new law school system, somewhere around 30% of candidates are women, maybe a little bit less or more. I don't know the recent data. But of those who pass the bar exam, amongst our judges, I think close to 30%, maybe 28% are women. Judges, a little bit less, but still relatively okay at 27%, still falling short of 30%. But with bengoshi, it really falls down to 18%.
Correct.
Why is that? Why are so few women who are in the system and have chosen to pass the bar exam, why so few women are choosing a private practice as a career versus one that is a public profession?
Okay, first of all, even though it's 18% in bengoshi, female lawyers is only 18%, still it's increasing. I have to say that. I mean, in the past, it's almost all men and 3% and gradually increased to 5%, 10%. And after the Japanese government established so-called professional law school, it's increased. And now it's still it's 18%. That's the situation. And it's more difficult for female students to say, I want to go to law school rather than male students, I think, on average, because there are many families who believe that it's not good to go for daughters to go to graduate school, first of all. And so as to entrance, I have to say that less than 40%, I think it's almost 30% are only female. So that's first step. Then because not many goes to Faculty of Law, Hogakubu, many female law school students entered as a so-called 3 years law school system. There are 2 tracks in Japan, 2 years law school and 3 years law school. And for 2 years, they have legal background. And for 3 years, there is expected no legal background in general. So, and many female students entered for this 3 years track. And I have to say that the passage rate of this 3 years legal track is not good as 2 years legal track. And today, the passage rate of bar exam is on average about 30%.
Once women do enter the profession as bengoshi, what type of career structures do they face? For example, you mentioned as a legal academic, although numerically far fewer women academics than male academics, and you've also said it's more difficult to get, or women find it more difficult to get tenure on the tenure track compared to male colleagues, but otherwise you don't feel any discrimination. What about women lawyers? What type of impediments or do they face, or is it roughly equal once they get into a law firm?
Yeah, first of all, I have no experience of legal practice, so I just, through my interview and also empirical survey, I feel like this, okay? But first of all, it's, you know, at the entrance of the legal community, they are around around age 30, right? It's kind of time to get married, and for many of them, time to have a baby, right? And once, even before having a baby, they are, I can say, discriminated, I have to say, because they are private practitioners. They need clients, and many clients prefer male lawyers rather than female lawyers. And for family issues, or divorce or DV, these cases that are not so profitable, female lawyers are preferred. But for, you know, corporations or bankruptcy, these cases are for male lawyers. So at the early stage, the economic status is a bit different. And once you have a baby, then the situation gets worse.
There has been research that shows that even though women have been on the rise even more quickly in the judiciary than in private legal practice, nonetheless, there is evidence of gender bias in certain judgments, criminal law, family law, some civil law cases. Can you share some examples and maybe reflect on, is this improving or is this going to be a long-standing problem?
Okay, I think the latest very interesting case may be the different surname issue, constitutional case decided by Supreme Court in 2015, I think. And it's about whether Japanese married couples can have different surnames or not. And currently, civil court, I mean, family law says that once you get married, you have to pick one surname, either husband or wife, right? So there is no saying like you have to pick father's husband's surname. Still, in statistically, 96% it's women who abandon her original maiden name. So there is a litigation, and for saying that it's unconstitutional to force only one surname, and we should allow to pick different surname if they want to do so. But Supreme Court said that, well, first of all, law doesn't say like you should pick husband's surname. You can pick up either husband's or wife. Second of all, even if you pick husband's surname, you can use your original maiden name as nickname. And that's, the situation is getting better, and your hardship may be softer now.
Yes.
Yeah, but very interestingly, among 15 justices, all 3 female judges said that no, it's unconstitutional, because they know that it's how it is tough to change her original maiden name. And also, actually, at that time, the judiciary didn't allow to use maiden name for professional work. And right after this judgment, the judiciary, I mean, Supreme Court, allow all judges to use maiden name.
So can you explain a little bit about what impact the Koseki system has for sexual minorities in Japan?
Okay, it's also a very serious problem because, first of all, under Japanese law, even today, we will not allow same-sex marriage. So if you are male, you can only legally marry with female, right? And this male or female is registered once you are born. And there are needless to say, substantial number of people who feel like a so-called transgender person and whose sexual identity is different from the physical sex. So, and in 2000, I think, 7, so-called GID Special Act passed. And now you can change your sex gender registered in family registry, but that requirement is very, very strict. First of all, you have to be adult, that means that over 20 now, and from 2022, it's over 18. And second of all, you should be single. I mean, you cannot be married, right? And third, you shouldn't have minor child or minor children. And fourth, of course, you have to have medical prescription by 2 different doctors that you are transgendered person.
Going back then in history, beginning with Japan's modernization project from the Meiji Restoration, how were women legally recognized or not under Japanese law? And when for you was the first legal milestone in terms of entrenching or establishing gender equality in Japan?
Okay, it's back to current constitution, means 1947. Even though Japan's modernization started by Meiji Restoration, but Meiji Constitution or Meiji Family Code didn't recognize women as a kind of at least equal status with men. Like once you get married, women become incompetent, legally incompetent. And that was why before World War II, there was no professional female judge or prosecutors, because we don't want to have incompetent prosecutors, right? So, and finally in 1947, the constitution said, like, you know, the equality under the law. So, and women are allowed to get around to vote as well. So,
what was the main impetus behind Japan enacting the Equal Employment Opportunity Act in the mid-1980s?
Okay, it's first of all, it's 1984 and 1985. Okay, yeah, and the reason why Japanese government adopted EEOA was the government wanted to join CEDAW, Convention on
elimination of discrimination.
Against the women, right? Yeah. So it's, you know, just international agreement to prohibit all discrimination against women, and that the CEDAW is important because that prohibits discrimination against women not only by the government but also between private parties. So it started in 1985, but there was huge opposition by economic circles because at that time there was no recognition like women's legal status or women's at least legal equal status at working place at least. So anyway, at that time, the government purpose is just to pass the law. So gradually they amended and amended. And finally now, today we have kind of provision for sexual discrimination and also some sanction like publicizing the name of the company who discriminated women like that.
Beyond the Equal Employment Opportunity Act, what other major initiatives in law or policy have there been to deal with other topical issues of gender equality or disadvantage?
Yes, one may be Child Care Act that was enacted in 1990, and after enactment, the name is changed into Child Care and Family Care Act because it was has been always women who had to take care of baby, and we have so-called M curve, You know that the working force for women is increasing to 18 to 25, but suddenly it's dropped because many people have a baby and quit job. And I have to say that even today, 30% of women leave workplace. And in the past, it's much more. And after finishing child care, then they started to work. So, and in order to cure this M curve, one strategy was child care leave, and government ensured 1 year child care leave. And to some extent, it's paid.
Mhm.
And law says that, I mean, EEOA also changed at that time, and law says that during child care leave, after child care leave, the employer has to make those women back to the same status.
Sort of conclude this interview with what's happening today in the world, which of course is the COVID-19 pandemic. Are there any other issues in the gender space that are arising because of COVID-19 or that might emerge in the future?
Well, I think one is, I think it's kind of worldwide issue, but DB problem became serious. Because, you know, many people just stay home and there is no escape place for the victim of DB, especially women. And also another issue is very serious economic status of single mothers, because their working status is already before COVID-19 very, you know, unstable. And because economy go down, then many of them just fired.
Thank you so much for this wide-ranging discussion on gender and the law, both today in the legal profession, more broadly in family, the economy and society. So thank you very much for spending time with us today, Professor Ishida.
Thank you very much. I really enjoyed.